Yes, we're live. Hello, welcome back to Book from Scratch. If you're coming in now, there's a whole bunch of episodes where I go through all the planning, and about 2 episodes now where I've actually started writing this book. Now, I'm not done with all the planning. There's still a lot more to plan out and think about, but I just wanted to start writing, so that's what I'm doing. Now, let me read for you where we're at, and I'll do a bit of explaining. Then I'm just going to keep trying to write this first chapter of what's the first book in this. Because if you don't know, the book I'm writing is an anthology, 10 books. There's a bunch of genres sandwiched between a fantasy and a fantasy book, because this is a fantasy story overall. But it's going to be a western, a sci-fi, a romance, a mystery, a comedy, and one other I can't remember, horror, another one actually I think, and that I'm trying to do as many different genres because I'm trying to learn and trying to teach. I thought that it would be good for people who want to write a book, and anyone can write a book, to see someone do it live, because then you can kind of get how you take what's in your head and put it on the paper and break down how to, like the chapters, the paragraphs, sometimes the sentences. Go back and watch the last 2 episodes to get an idea of how that's going so far. And on the computer right now, sorry, that's my screen coming on and off because it's doing a thing. So sorry if I go dark for 1 minute, nice and sinister, and then back to happy and joyful. Well, not for long, depends on how well this writing goes. But let me catch you up. The 2 episodes ago, I did the first line, which is quite important in your book, and a few hints and tips about that. It's what I think. If you want what I think is not, like, in any way, shape or form, the only way to do it, I'm not doing rules. I guess I'm just giving my guidelines, and maybe it works for you. If not, go find a bunch of other people who are writing on YouTube and use their ideas, because, like, what is it? This is like writing is an art. Art is subjective. Other people might have better ideas than I do, or different ideas that work for you. So go check them out. But let me just do a bit of reading so you can catch up. Again, if you've watched some of the episodes, you know kind of where this is going anyway. So the first line I came up with, as he repeatedly stabbed the soldier between the plates of its armour, Huxton started to wonder if it was working at all, as his adversary seemed not to notice, and maybe he would need a new plan. Now, that first line is supposed to reflect the general theme of this book, which is, like, do you know how in a fantasy story it's very typical that if you can just, like, defeat the big bad guy, then everything is solved and peace reigns throughout the land. Now, some fantasies obviously make the point that that's not true. Go read a Discworld book for fantasy, like, thinking above and beyond, like, the big bad guy needs to be killed, destroyed, whatever. Take, like, Sauron needing to be destroyed, Voldemort needed to be destroyed, Lord Hong in Interesting Times needed to be gotten rid of. So I thought, isn't it actually more like, if you defeat the big bad guy, yeah, there's peace for a little bit, but then it can always go wrong again. So I thought, wouldn't a longer term strategy be not? It's not about just defeating the big bad guy. It's also about solving all the little problems that allow the big bad guy to come to the top and be a massive, massive problem. So I thought the theme of this is, this theme is going to grow, I think, but it's all about tackling, like, smaller, less important things, still with fantasy action and you know, the beautiful places that you have in a fantasy universe. And if you tackle the small things, little things, and solve their problems, everything gets better. It's kind of like how, if you take, okay, whatever you believe, it doesn't matter, but if you take the way we talk about, say, climate change nowadays, it's been identified that, like, the people who are the worst at it and, like, making things terrible for the rest of us are the people pushing as many people in power as they can to just not do anything about it. So you might think, if you were to come up with an analogy for them in a fantasy story, as soon as you defeat them, then all the pollution, all the climate change gases, that's not it, greenhouse gases, would end, and peace and a better world. Okay, but in truth, the change we've been able to make has been much lower down, like the importance. It's not about, we've never really taken out like one of the what's it, oil producing corporations who pump propaganda into our society, or like, if you think they're doing this or not, it's up to you, but it doesn't matter because it's all about how you write a story. And it's how, like, we haven't really gone after them. Not really. I can't even think of anyone who's actually been taken down because they've been such a massive problem for they're just happy to pollute and destroy the world if it makes them a quick buck. And it's kind of like in Britain right now, like there's a bunch of companies just casting a lot of runoff and into our lakes and our rivers, and it's been a massive issue, but no one's been taken care of. Like, Labour haven't been doing anything, Conservatives never did anything. I don't even know who would. No one's ever like drawn up plans to take out the big bad bosses or the water companies who have made things awful for our rivers and our lakes. But if you think about it, if you were to if you can get people on board about punishing them, if you can get people on board about looking elsewhere for alternatives, then you sap the power of, like, the current politicians. You can find a better politician who can lead the country and actually punish them, or you can find water companies that are better overall. You can get a mass movement that complains to these water companies, sues them, litigates against them, and actually punishes them, but also changes the whole system so our water is better. It's the theme I'm trying to develop. It's not complete. You'd be a genius if you can get your theme down right away and it stays the same throughout your whole book. But that's the theme I'm developing. Like, think about solving all the issues that allow the big bad guy to be where they are. In some ways, our water companies that have been polluting our rivers and lakes do so because they control politicians. So if you can take away their control over politicians, they're no longer the big bad guy that needs to be destroyed. We resolve a lower down problem if you think about it. Big bad needs to be taken out, but there's all these other things we can do that sap away their power. It's the example I've given before is like, if you have Sauron, the big bad of Lord of the Rings, yeah, destroying the ring and taking him out, good, but it would have been a heck of a lot easier if you had taken Denethor off the throne so that Gondor was much better prepared for war. It would have been better if Saruman had been taken out a little bit earlier so he didn't, build an entire army of Uruk-hai. It would have been better if you could even do a long shot and give the orcs some kind of much better living situation so that they go, well, I don't want to go with Sauron when I've got a nice house now and a fire and not maggoty bread for 3 stinking days. And so that's the theme that I'm trying to develop. You target and change the world so that the big bad loses their power. That's the theme I'm developing, and that's why that first line is like that, because it's reflecting this. It's Huxton's doing the typical thing of trying to just stab his enemy, but then he's starting to think we need a new plan, a new way of dealing with it because it's not working. So, and I think I said before, first line should reflect the wider theme, if you can. You don't need to. Not all books, great first line do that. Call Me Ishmael, in Moby Dick doesn't do that, but it's a great first line. Okay, let's keep reading on so I can catch you up and then I can keep writing for a bit. Maybe he would need a new plan. He had to do something though. The being was currently trying to crush his best friend's neck under its boot. Fortis, other character, seethed as he gripped the soldier's heel and shin and attempted to push it off as it pinned him to the ground. Do something! Do something! Fortis gasped at Huxton, who was clinging to the soldiers, one leg hooked over a pauldron to steady him, his free hand wrapped around the chin piece of the soldier's helm for grip. That's a bit long. I'm going to do editing later, but that was a bit long. I am doing something, Huxton wailed, continually stabbing away. It's not working, Fortis managed to splutter through gritted teeth. You're an orc, aren't you? You're stronger than this thing. Help out. Huxton's leg then slipped, and he dropped the knife on instinct to use both hands to stop himself from falling to the ground. There was a screech as his sweaty fingers slid across the metal and found purchase on the eye sockets of the helm. As he locked his fingers and tensed his arms to take his weight, the helm slid sideways around the head of this thing. The soldier stepped back, flailing its arms. Fortis's neck got the reprieve he was hoping for, and finally he could take a deep breath. "It can't see," Huxton said, beaming in pride at rescuing his friend. Fortis got to his feet right as the enemy reached over its head with both gauntlet hands, grabbed Huxton by his tunic, and launched him forward. Fortis barely had time to blink in surprise as his best friend hurtled towards him and bore him to the ground once more. The pair of them rolled across Huxton's mother's favourite rug before crashing. Before crashing into the dining table's thick oak legs. Full stop. Might as well do that now rather than later. "Are you working for this guy?" Fortis wheezed. "Couldn't you catch me?" Huxton retorted. The soldier staggered for a moment, then grabbed its helm and twisted it back into position, taking a moment to align it properly. "Why did it do that? It's got no eyes," Huxton said. The soldier looked around and spied its sword lying on the flagstone floor near the fire pit in the corner of the room. Okay, I was thinking about this all day, and I originally put fire pit because of something that happens later. We'll get to it. I'm going to change that back into fireplace because I realised it can work with a fireplace. Huxton winced at the mess this intruder had made into his family home. Made in his family home. It had burst in, accompanied by screams from outside, and tried to slash him and his best friend Fortis. Thankfully, the pair of them... I don't need best friend Fortis, do I? Because I've already said it. And... Fortis... Thankfully, the pair of them fell off their seats in shock, knocking cutlery and cups to the ground, and the blade had come down the table, lodging in the wood. Before the soldier could extract the weapon from the table, Huxton kicked out at its hands, sending the weapon flying, but leaving a nasty gash in the oak, which would drive his father crazy when he saw it. The soldier abandoned his weapon and decided to choke-stomp Fortis. Now, though, it wanted its sword back. Before it could bend down to grab its weapon, Huxton seized a mug lying next to him and chucked it at the soldier, where it smashed against its helm and it stumbled backwards. Now, just to show you how I do this very quickly, in case you're new, I'm sorry if you can skip a little ahead if you're not watching this live, of course. So, the way I think about... Oh, hang on a minute. Come on, zoom in. More. Right. The way I plan ahead is essentially to... Sorry, I should have done this differently. What colour am I? Got my pen on. Good. So, first, the way I do it is think about the overall thing that has to happen in a chapter. So this has to be an introduction to Fortis and explain their reasons for being in adventurers, and I'm explaining their reason to be an adventurer because they've been attacked and they use that as the catalyst. They take joy in it, or they feel like more mature. It grows them, so they want more. So then, in order to make that happen, I thought about several different major plot points that could happen. In this case, they're fights the soldier. That's what's happening now. Then it introduces like the setting and the characters. Sorry, my handwriting's terrible. I'd spend all time typing, so I kind of forgot. Anyway. Then a little bit. Then I thought action scene. That's why it's more action. Then they would flee away from it. So even more action didn't work. Whatever they tried didn't work. And then there's the wider attack on the village. Just showcases what's going on, increases tension and drama. And then they fight again. Still doesn't work. And then wait, hang on a minute. Right, no, they do fight after learning. They do fight again. But it still doesn't quite work, and then they go on to the second solution, which is the actual one. Then, as you can see, what I did is broke it down even more, and I think of these as major paragraphs within the entire chapter. And if I aim to reach each one, and each one does, I feel, lead on from one another quite succinct, like enough anyway for a basic draft. And all I have to do is fill in the gaps a little bit. So the sword is on the floor. He's just been hit on the back. So that means... And it's stumbled backwards. So it's not really hurt it. That's fine. Now then. Right. This is why I'm going to zoom in here now. So Huxton has thrown something at the soldier. So that's what I just did. The next part is talk about the setting. Okay, I've actually kind of done that already by giving a broad sense of the house that they're in, so I don't need to move that on. So this one gets ready to attack again. Okay, I'm going to need... Right. Okay, what I'm going to do is flip these around. So I'm just going to write swap so I know I did that. So swap these around. So I'm going to get a bit of dialogue in to flesh out their relationship. Okay, so it stumbled. What did it sort about? If I get it, stumbled forwards, stepping over its weapon, and it's stumbling over its weapon. Oops, daisy. So it stumbled forwards, stepping over its weapon. So there's a bit of a reprieve now. Its helmet striking the arch over the fireplace. Now that's good because it positions him by the fireplace, which I need. It was striking the arch over the fireplace. It seemed dazed for a moment. It seemed dazed. Now this is where I do this swap. So I'm going to use some dialogue to flesh out Fortis's and Huxton's relationship, because now the reader is informed about who these two people are and what their relationship is. I've already mentioned they're best friends, but how does that actually manifest right here? So it's going to manifest in bickering and a little bit of arguing, but they're comfortable with it. It doesn't turn into a fight between them, but it's like they're clearly able to play off each other. For a moment it seemed dazed. Well, that did something. No, that's absolutely right. What would Fortis say? So Fortis is a big kind of lumbering orc. He's an action orientated guy. So just going to shrink that down. Good. Let's go back down now. He's an action orientated guy. For a moment it seemed dazed. We need to do something more than throw. We need to do something more than throw cups at it. Commented. I'll just go with said for now. I think I've said this before. You don't always have to use said, but varying what you say afterwards is a good idea. We can do something more. We have to do something more. We have to do something more than throw cups at it. Fortis said. Do you know? I'm the only one. I'm the only one coming up. I don't need to I'm the only one coming up with ideas right now. I'd like to see you. Why don't you try? Can give you notes. Okay, I'm in a fantasy. Would a fantasy creature? I'll give you notes. Like how much paper and pen and notebooks are around at this time. I might have to rethink that one. I'm the only one coming up with ideas right now. Why don't you try something and I'll give you constructive criticism? So you're saying constructive criticism sounds like I'm afraid it just... Because constructive criticism gets used a lot as a sort of, I don't know, like office buzzword, is that the right way of saying it? It seems too modern. I'm saying I give you notes doesn't seem to fit a fantasy universe. And I give you suggestion. No. Okay, I'll have to stick with, and I'll give you notes and hopefully change that. Oh, hang on a minute. I just realised I can do this. Is this fantasy enough? And I'll come back to that. Okay, I'm the only one coming up with ideas right now. Why don't you try something? I give you notes. Huxton replied. Blankly into blankly into space for a moment. Waiting. Waiting, Huxton said. I'm thinking. Okay. What I need to do here is... Sorry, I'm just... Oh, it's because of that. Let's close the comment box. No markup? Yes, there it is. I'll come back to it later though. Waiting, Huxton said. I'm thinking. Okay, I've got a slight problem here because all I'm doing is they're like kind of fighting with one another. This isn't gonna, like, I can't just show Fortis and Huxton of having this almost what sounds like an acrimonious relationship. Instead, I need to point it out why, like, show their friendship from her. Maybe I need to go back a little bit earlier so it's fine. I need to move beyond this. Waiting, Huxton said. I know. I'm going to put them back on the same page. I'm thinking. The knight stumbled around. Oh, as you stumbled. Back to the good old thesaurus. Thesaurus. Let's have something better than stumbled. Floundered. The knight floundered. Very good. The knight floundered. Why can't I spell? Founded. The knight not knight. No, he's not a knight. The soldier floundered around. So I floundered around and crushed a plate under a strewn plate, which was around, and floundered around and stepped. No, sorry, crushed an errant plate. And crushed. No, I'll do broader. Crushed crockery and mugs under its feet. Turns around and crushed crockery and mugs under it. Your mum's gonna. Your mum's gonna freak out when she sees this. Fortis meant. Mentioned. Yeah. Yeah. Huxton chuckled. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Huxton chuckled. We're both going to be in trouble. She's probably more worried about that. Yeah. No, that's not. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to think about how they've been bickering a little bit for now. Now I need to get them back on the same page of working together so they can move forward to the next part of the chapter, working together. So now I'm giving them something both to be afraid of, which is Huxton's mother. So the soldier floundered around and crushed crockery and mugs under its feet. Under its feet. Your mum's going to freak out when she sees this, Fortis mentioned. Yeah, Huxton chuckled. We're both in trouble. Both? Just you. Just you, Huxton. Good. Using his name for once. Both? Just you, Huxton. Do you really think? Only I'm going to get the blame? Do you think I'm only going to get the blame for this? Fortis started sweating. Yeah. This is my problem too. So maybe we should take care of it together. realised this is an opportunity to put in something that's like here, better to share the punishment than handle it alone. I like the idea that I need to change that a little bit, because what that could be, could this be a catchphrase that binds them both together? But better to share the punishment than handle it alone. Fortis almost chanted. Okay, then we have and hand it alone. Huxton repeated. Fortis's. Come on, I taught you how to. I taught you Huxton's name, didn't I? Okay, Huxton repeated as Fortis's. Fortis's hand gripped it, and they both rose together. Gripped his, and they both rose together. Huxton repeated as Fortis's hand gripped his, and they both rose together. The scraping of metal on stone. Attention as the soldier took the sword by. I just need to look at parts of a sword. Hilt, sorry. Should have known that, I apologise. The scraping of metal on stone drew their attention as the soldier took the sword by the hilt and hefted the weapon in both hands. The rock. Okay, we can move past that. Right, so here we go. What did I do? I swap those around. Now the soldier gets ready to attack again. That's where I am. He retrieves the weapon, so I've made it up to this point. Now, rug on soldier. So what I came up with, if you saw that episode, was that what they decide to do is grab the rug, throw it over it, like smothering it a little bit, and then the rug gets set on fire, and now the soldier's got to deal with that. And I think one of the things I wanted was a fire pit, because it makes more sense for the rug to catch it if the fire is more loose in the middle of the room. But I realised I don't think it matters too much, and the kind of house I'm imagining should probably have a fireplace. Like, fire pits in the middle of a house doesn't quite work. I mean, it worked in How to Train Your Dragon, because that's what those Vikings had, but like, I'm imagining that Huxton, because Huxton's house lives in a cottage, so therefore it's going to have a chimney, and it looks rustic, and therefore more fantasy, so that's where I'm going. I'm just going to have to think about how the rug catches fire. I mean, the fire can be quite big. It could be as big as I want. Anyway, the scraping of metal on stone drew their attention as the soldier took the sword by the hilt and hefted the weapon in both hands. The rug! The rug. For what I said. Yeah, no, they can't bicker anymore. What about it? Okay, I'm going to move forward. Grab the rug. Huxton obeyed his friend as the orc bent down and raised a corner of the rug high. Huxton did the same. Now throw it. The same as just as Forces yelled, not said. Throw it. Oops. Exclamation mark. Who doesn't like an exclamation mark, really? Just don't go over the top with it. Huxton obeyed his friend as the orc... Not orc like that. It needs to be a C. This isn't Warhammer 40k. As the orc bent down and raised the corner of the rug high. Huxton did the same just as Fortis yelled, "Throw it!" Without thinking... Huxton obeyed. Huxton, I'll put here. Huxton joined his friend as the orc bent down and raised the corner of the rock high. Right, did the same just as Horses yells, "Throw it!" Without thinking, Huxton obeyed, casting the rug forward as the soldier stepped towards them, advanced on them. It swiped with us. The rug was made of wool from a very hardy flock. And failed, and the blade failed to cut deeply in. Sorry, I'm just going to check something. Can rugs even be made of wool? Sounds like a stupid question, but I don't know. Well, it just feels like it's made of something else. Because no, that's fine. It's fine to call it. Hang on. Rugs made of wool. Let's say Middle Ages. Yep, it's fine. I don't know. It just seems like wool doesn't feel like a rug material, but like I don't know how to make rugs, so presumably they managed it back in the Middle Ages, because according to this, it does say that's fine. It's white with sword, but the rug was made made of wool from a very hardy flock, and the blade failed to cut deeply. I don't want to call it a rug again. I'll have to call it a rug for now. The rug smothered the soldier, blanketing its body. It punched it. Yeah, Huxton's enough. Fortis burst forward and shoulder barged his enemy backwards. And let's do soldier again. An enemy? Maybe I could try a different enemy. And his foe is his foe now. And his was pushed back. It's back. Cracking against the lintel of the fireplace. It didn't go down. Didn't go down though. Go down though, but went. And it went down on one knee. That's on the rug. That's when the rug caught fire. No, that's when the rug. What do you call it? Tassels? Tassels on the rug? parts of a rug. Fringe. No, that's what happens when you do it. Do you get tassels? Edge. I'll just have to go with edge. That's when the edge of the rug. And that's when the edge of the rug fell onto the dying embers. No, not dying embers. On the. That's when the edge of the rug fell on the logs in the fireplace. Blazing logs. We'll just go with that. The blazing logs. That's when the edge of the rug fell on the blazing logs in the fireplace, and while being instantly caught fire. I always like saying Fortis and Huxton more than I like saying Huxton and Fortis. Fortis, I also watched as the intruder suddenly came a 6 foot tall, yeah, 6 foot tall burning man. No. Fortis and Huxton watched as the intruder suddenly became a 6 foot tall torch. Oh. Seems too obvious. Right, where am I at? So the rug's on the shoulder and they kick him into the fire. Done. Sorry, just so you can see us down here. Done. The next bit is head outside as flaming soldiers to get them. My mum's rug. Okay, yeah. My mum's rug. Huxton blurted out, realizing. Okay. Blurted out and grabbed. I said out, realizing. You're paying for that. You're paying for that. Too obvious. Too cliche. My mum's rug. Blurted out, realizing what he had just done. Never mind the rug. We need to get out of here. Never mind the rug. We need to get out of here. And he pushed. Huxton would not be. Not be moved easily as he. See what someone do? Someone's on fire over there, and you're now worried about the rug in your house. What would he be doing? He'd like be going. Okay, yeah, that's it. Huxton would not be as he gesticulated wildly and blabbered about the material. He gesticulated wildly and blabbered about the material. And about the material curling and singeing at a singeing in seconds. Now I'm going to use the trusty internet. What would burning wool smell like? No, I said wool, not wood. Not interested, please. Burning wool smells strongly, but oh, thanks. It smells strongly like burning hair of feathers. What I need is the actual smell. Acrid. really not helpful just to say that what would wool smell like? Oh, it smells like burning hair. Okay, what does burning hair smell like? Sharp, pungent, distinctly unpleasant. The sharp smell of burning sheeps. You don't call it a pelt. What do you call it? The sharp smell of burning sheep's fur. Like, is it coat? That's it. Smell of burning sheep. No, sheep's coat. No, that doesn't work. I can't say burning sheep. It sounds cruel. The smell of burning. It's been a while since I mentioned wool, so we'll be fine. The sharp smell of burning wool filled the cottage. Nice time for me to actually identify it as a cottage. The sharp smell of burning wool filled the cottage. The sharp smell of burning wool filled the cottage. Including those. Out Huxton now. From the house. Now this is a good thing because now I haven't actually described them yet. That's possibly an issue. It's not always necessary because people will invent things for it. So they're heading outside as the flaming soldier tries to get them. This is where I'm at now. But this, I just realised, is an opportunity for me to get a sort of sense of Fortis and Huxton. So I've already suggested that Fortis is like bulkier, stronger than his human friend, but now it's trying to get to subtly hint to the reader of height difference. Now, and he wrapped his large arms around. What are you doing? No, yeah. His friend's waist and boldly lifted him into the air and ran out of the door. I'm just going to assume that the door is tall enough so that Huxton doesn't go like that on the back of the beam of the door. Out Huxton now, and he wrapped his arms around his friend's waist and boldly lifted him into the air and ran out the door. Huxton leaned over Fortis' shoulder, reaching out for his house as he was reaching out for his house as he my house, my house, my mouse, my house. My house, he called out. Just as the bipedal torch. No, I can't call it torch again. Fortis looked over his shoulder just as the flaming. Okay, I can't do it. Fortis turned his head. There you go. To say shoulder, so I can say soldier without feeling weird. Fortis turned his head just as the flaming soldier chased him out. See? See, your house is going to be fine. We're still not. Nothing's chasing us. Faster fortress. Okay. It's time to go back to a little bit of trying to understand the context a bit of what's going on this. Actually, it's probably best that I sort of design the village, isn't it? Nope. 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 There we go. Okay. Let's increase the size of this so you can see what I draw. I say draw. Because I'm not a very good artist. If you agree, put it in the comments and I will not be insulted. Well, it depends on how insulting you are. Anyway, right, so I don't need to draw the whole village. Let's just say the cottage, door, Fortress and Huxton are running out. Following them is the soldier. Put a little H above them to show that they're being carried. So they're running from it. I'm running as fast as I can. Okay, one of the good things about what I've done by framing it like this is that I've moved away from the sort of bickering that they were doing. Now they're kind of working together. They had a kind of shared enemy. They didn't realise that Huxton's mother wasn't the actual enemy, even though they're scared of her. But then they refocus their attention on the soldier, and they're treating it like that they have to deal with it, hence the rug incident. It's on fire. Now they're working together to get away, and they're kind of cooperating, like faster Fortress, faster, faster Fortress, faster. And they're not bickering at this point. I'm running as fast as I can. It feels more cooperative. So what now needs to happen is I need to show they need to end this in a sense. Right, I got it. There's a well. I think that's it. So there's a well. Shrink this down. I'm gonna do this like a scene. Okay, so the cottage is in a well. Sorry, I was meant to duplicate that, wasn't I? If only I knew how. Good. So, cottage and thing. Fortress and Huxton, they turn heads at the right moment and see the well. So that means they go around it, okay? And that means that what happens next is that means that the soldier, which means the soldier goes right into the well. And then Huxton and Fortress are right there. Because the rug's on it and it's on fire. And it doesn't think to make, because it's not human. So, but a change needs to be made, because if it's chasing them, that means it can sort of see them. If it can sort of see them, it can see the well, and it could also see them dodge it. Not necessarily. Our Fortress could leap over the well, and that's fine. Not every well has that sort of arch on top of it for the bucket to be slid down. In this case, this is just a well, and you chuck the bucket in and then lift it up. That'll be fine. Okay, see, your house is going to be fine, he commented. But we're still not. That thing is chasing us. Also said, faster, Fortress, faster, he said, slapping the orc's shoulder. Shoulder. I'm running as fast as I can. Hold on. Fortis turned his head forward just in time to see the village well right in front of him. Hold on, he bellowed as he took a flying leap over the well. Bordering a stone circle. Do you call it the... A flying leap over the stone circle bordering the well. He made it to the other side. He made it to the other side, but clipped but his toe. Why can't you just tell me the parts of the well? Internet of a... I really wish there were people in the comments who could tell me what the parts of a well were. Like, what's the ring around the thing? Must have a name. Someone would have named it, surely. Come on, just anything. Internet. Parts of an old well. Darn it. Okay. Clip the edge of the ring. And the two of them not crashed, collapsed into the mud. I imagine it would be muddy around the well, it's where the water is, and collapsed into the mud. The heat, the dancing light from the flames. The dancing light from the flames illuminate. Then darkness fell upon them. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, if you visualize it in your head, you can then think of extra details that you should say to enrich what's happening. The dancing lights from the flames illuminated them as the soldier neared. Then darkness fell as it as it tripped on the well and on the edge of the shaft, and there was a sound like a you wouldn't call it, I was going to say drum kit, but you don't get drum kits in fantasy novels, do you? As it tripped on the edge of the shaft And there was a sound like a whole cutlery set. What is it? Like a guy in armor falls over, and what would that sound like? I mean, it sounds like okay, I'll get to that later. Darkness fell as it tripped on the edge of the shaft and disappeared. In befuddlement, bemusement. That was my plan. That was my plan. Huston was about to laugh and give his friend a playful punch. That's when so I'm using the word "but" again. And give his friend a playful punch. What stopped him? Crashing. All around them. Now, I kind of alluded to it before when mentioning screams at the very beginning, as the knight had entered, the soldier had entered. So I don't want to do screams. Was the something else? Oh, I gotta stop soon. I almost managed to stick to my hour. That's the wailing. There we go. Wailing, crashing, and yells all around them. They rose to take in the scene. I'm gonna stop there. Right. So, as I hope I've managed to do is by typing this out in front of you, you're kind of getting a sense of how I've transferred, like what's. I should have. I haven't even seen any of that typing, have you? Anyway, I should have got a sense of how what my notes and my attempts at visualizing the scene can transfer onto the page, and also how you have to weave in as you go sentences, dialogue that builds upon what's been said before, and also shows what the characters are like, such as changing the nature of how at first they like have a go at each other for making things worse as they're fighting this enemy, then finding common ground, and then turning that common ground into common action, and then being like together and working together, and finally finishing up roughly here, where they're kind of having a good time about it. But then also they wrote, by introducing this part, have automatically reintroduced the drama and tension in the story of what's going on, that their whole village is under attack at this point. It was the wailing. What stopped him? Not his. was the wailing crashing in the aisles all around them. They rose to take into the scene. So in the next video, I'll continue, and I am here. Describe village on the edge of the swamp. So that's when I put the village in some kind of context. Actually, where was I? Right there. So that's what's next. Yeah, I've only just gone 1 minute over. I'll be 2 minutes by the time I say this. Over the hour I was aiming for, which is good. How much did I get done? Right, that's how much I did. Oh, 3 pages. Wonder what that comes to in word count. 645 words. Okay, so I can roughly get maybe 700 words done in an hour. I've got to stop talking about the theme. I'm just going to have to trust you guys. Go back and look at, look at previous videos and get the idea. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. This is, if you're going to critique me in comments later, that's fine. You know, I can't get everything right, and I misspeak occasionally. I apologise for that. But I also hope that you can see this as a draft, and I obviously hope to improve it massively later. And this is book from scratch. I said there's planning, then there's typing, but there's another step, editing, and I'm going to show you the editing as I go as well. And I'm going to throw this out there as well, not just to protect myself, but as well as you edit your story, there's also someone else has to edit it too, to get a richer, fuller look at everything you're writing and making it better. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. As I said, this is my way. Other people's way might be better for you if you intend to write a story. Have a good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.